Hi guys, welcome. This is day 4 of my 30-day Facebook challenge answering questions. And I'm going to first actually answer a question we got on one of our videos the other day. And the video was on using drip tape in your high tunnel, how we set up a watering system for your high tunnel. And the question was, what do you do in the wintertime? How do you prevent it from freezing, that sort of thing? So let me go ahead and quickly kind of sketch this a bit with what we do on this. So we talked about the hydrant in your tunnel there, and we talked about having a board with all your different manifold on there. So what we would actually do is we make sure this manifold was on a slight tilt here so that when you disconnected things would drain from there. So we also talked about this frost-free hydrant here. Let's make sure if I don't know how those usually work, but they would have a little hose that go between. Well, this hose has a quick connect here, so you can disconnect the quick connect, lay it out, let it drain, turn the faucet off, and that system would drain out. The other thing to think about is during the wintertime, we normally do not use drip tape. It's just going to freeze, and unless you use like the 15 mil, it will freeze and blow apart and not give even watering during the wintertime. We do use the overhead sprinklers, and the thing to think about that is that most of those overhead sprinklers are shipped with an anti-drip system, and the reason behind that is after the water shuts off, it starts to drip, and it will cause holes in your ground actually. So what we normally do is for our overhead irrigation, we'll make sure it's over a path, and then we'll remove those anti-drips. So during the winter time, that will just drain out and won't blow the whole system apart. So that's that. Let's go ahead and clean this up, and let's get to today's question, which you can see there at the top of the board. Let me go ahead and read that. All right, and this is from Lauren. Lauren says, "Hello everyone, I was hoping someone here could give me a little explanation, help, insight. What is the difference other than shape between a round high tunnel and a Gothic high tunnel? In your collective experience, is one better than the other? Other than the style, what are some must-haves to complement the tunnel, make sure that we are maximizing its use, such as watering system, fans, etc.? Thanks in advance." All right, so let's dive into this. High tunnels, winter growing is really one of my something I really enjoy. So I really enjoy a question like this. So let's go ahead and start talking about that. So the main difference between the high tunnel and the high tunnel shape for your Quonset versus Gothic. And so Quonset is really more like a half round like this. Excuse my drawing skills. But the problem with this style tunnel, especially when you get larger, is that snow tends to build up right in here. So these sides will shed snow very easily, but the snow ends up there. Your tunnel tends to bend right here at your hip board, and you end up with a tunnel like that, which doesn't do you much good. So unless you're going to something like a 15-foot wide or 12-foot wide little tunnel, like a temporary field house or like a caterpillar tunnel, you want to go with the Gothic. And so let's talk about Gothic here. So there's actually two main styles of the Gothic I see. One is this style, is kind of more like a straight up and then over like this. And then the more popular style comes up like this, kind of more curves, and then kind of curves back and down like that. So it's got a little bit more of a curve. It's not completely straight. And the reason for that is it still gives it some of the bow strength, and it also gives you more air volume inside. And the goal is really to have as much air volume as you can inside that tunnel. Okay, but let's get into a few more of the features that you may be looking for this tunnel. So the first feature I'd like to think about would be to raise the sides of your tunnel, so make it taller. Most tunnels ship with a 4-foot sidewall, and your goal, oh gosh, this is awfully shaped, but your goal is to have a little bit taller so that you can walk along the edge, because in the wintertime, the cold comes in from the edge, and it gets this area really cold, and if you can walk along there, you can save your inner area is your prime growing area where stuff's going to grow as fast. Actually, in the wintertime, you can see a growth, drop off. If you have stuff planted across the greenhouse right to the edge, your edge will just not grow at all. In the middle, will have much better growth. So usually extend the sidewalls up a little 2 feet or so you can walk right along the edge. The other thing we'll do is we'll put a French drain in here so you get good drainage. Realize all that water is coming off, especially in the wintertime, and it's got to go somewhere. So we usually put French drain in the bottom, put some rock above it, water goes down and gets out of there so it doesn't seep into the tunnel and cause issues. And while we're doing that, we're normally putting about 1 foot to 18 inches of blue board in there to also help prevent the cold from seeping in. So we're trying to insulate around the edge. We don't insulate in the bottom, but we will insulate around the edge. Okay, another thing to think about is to not use any wood in the tunnel. And I know it's tempting because it's a lot cheaper, but hear me out. I've seen many tunnels that have lost their plastic in winter storms due to being made with wood and rotting out. Normally people use wood for their end walls and also for their hip boards, which is right here where the plastic is attached. Normally below that there's a roll-up side. And so that hip board there is very integral to the integrity of that plastic. Wind comes along, this is rotted out, all the plastic goes next county, wherever, someplace, and all these greens now are left to freeze. Or, God forbid, it happens to your tomato crop, end of April, you have a freeze coming in. You can easily lose a lot of money that way. So that's something definitely to think about. Other thing to think about for a tunnel, and I'm not sure exactly what you're using it for, but if you're using it for winter greens or even year-round production, our experience and our testing has shown that the larger the house, the better. So we talked about having maximum air volume. Well, that also is connected to the size, too. You want to go as wide as you can and as long as you can to get as much air in there as possible. That helps your temps not swing as much. It actually warms up earlier in the morning and cools down later at night. So we're seeing most people are doing a minimum of 30 feet. Some people are going as many as 42 feet wide, and as long as you can too. So obviously when you get that size, you have to think about bracing and that sort of thing. So the company you buy it from is really important. But one more thing to think about is the size of your doors too. So how are you going to be tilling in here? How are you going to be accessing? I've got a couple guys now that are running just large doors all the way along the end like this. So 4 big doors. That way they can drive their tractors in and out from one end to the other. But if you're using a BCS or a tilther or something, you can just have a regular 4x8 or 8x8 sliding doors, which works really well. And I definitely recommend sliding doors versus opening like a hinge door, because a hinge door, if you got snow outside and it opens out and you want it to open out so you don't open in onto your crops, you have to shovel a lot more snow than if it slides. So key point there. One more thing I'd like to say, let's talk about who you buy your greenhouse from. So we've worked with a lot of different companies over the years. I've been around the United States a lot, seen a lot of different greenhouses. And we don't get paid by any company to promote them, but we've worked with a couple, and these are the ones we really like. The first one is Harnois, and Harnois does what they call the oval tech. And so most greenhouses have a round pipe. Harnois has more of an oval shape, and that really helps them be a lot more strong, so you can go that 42 width right there. So Harnois was one that we really like from out of Canada. We also like Rimmel and Four Season Tools. There's a lot of other good ones out there as well. One thing to think about when you're comparing quotes, is to think about the weight of the package. So if you're getting the same quote from different companies, see what their shipping weight is going to be. So I was working for a company once, and our shipping weight would be about 5,000 pounds for a kit. And so we were comparing to another company, and their weight was only 3,000 pounds for a kit. Which company do you think had a stronger greenhouse? Well, this one. But because the customers weren't looking at the weights and they're just looking at the cost, we actually looked more expensive, even though our cost per pound of steel was actually a lot cheaper. So that's definitely something to think about as well. So again, if you have questions or comments, feel free to post them below. Like our page for more videos like this. You can subscribe when we go live, and keep asking the questions. And let me show you one resource here. I've got a SlideShare channel. Let me show you that here. And there's a lot more research and information about high tunnels and building greenhouses and stuff. So you're trying to figure out fans or heaters and all that stuff. It's all here. So it's Michael Kilpatrick 1 is the name of the SlideShare channel. But you can also just type in like high tunnel or Michael Kilpatrick or something like that, and it should pop right up. So, all right. Go out there and keep farming and keep feeding our communities, guys. Thanks so much for